Oh, it's streaming on YouTube as well?
Yeah, we stream it on YouTube and then we record it for podcasts as well too. So
Very cool.
give me a moment here.
Welcome to Photography Chat with Merlin. Photography Chat with Merlin.
All right, welcome to another episode of Photography Chat. We've got Dan with us here today. Do you want to take a moment to say hi to everyone, Dan?
Hey, what's up? Happy to be here.
Yeah. So what you're coming from New York, right?
Jersey City.
Jersey City.
Right across the river from New York.
Nice. That's exciting. And I noticed your post went out there that you've got an exciting announcement going out.
Yeah, so I announced today that I am doing a release party for my latest book, No Invite Volume 10. It's going to be June 1st in New York City at the Morrison Hotel Gallery in Soho.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm pumped. It was galleries and everything are very busy again, so a lot of my normal places I've shown before are like booking out in November and December now.
Oh, holy shit.
Finding a place like with like 2 or 3 months notice is a lot tougher, but if everyone wants to mark their calendars for December 7th, I'll be releasing No Invite Volume 11 then, I believe, at Brooklyn Film Camera in New York. So
that's cool. That's a ways away.
mark that one. Make sure you're free. You know, it's gonna be fun.
Nice. That's exciting. So, what kind of stuff could people expect to see in No Invite 10?
So No Invite Volume 10 is kind of a landmark issue, kind of similar to what I've been doing. So for people who don't necessarily, are familiar with my work, I've been doing a project now for, I guess, about 7 years, where I sneak into Fashion Week. And I take pictures. It's mostly kind of a headshot project. That's kind of how it's evolved. But I've been sneaking in the Fashion Week now for like the last 12 seasons or so. And I take pictures all on little 35 millimeter Pro Compacts. Mostly sometimes the Contax T2, mostly the Yashica T4. This has been the workhorse for this season. And it's actually the cover of the new book. So figured Volume 10, pay a little tribute to the camera itself.
That's a cool looking cover.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. It's always an interesting kind of dance you have to do if you put like a model on the cover. I've had modeling agencies kind of be like, so what is this exactly? But last season, Volume 9 was kind of when it really felt like Fashion Week was back, especially after COVID.
Yeah.
And originally I wasn't going to do another book. So I was doing 2 books per year for most of the time until the pandemic. And then I had done, because I guess it was the end of 2021, September 2021, Fashion Week was kind of back, but it was a shorter week. It was tougher. There was a little less shows. It was kind of a truncated season. So I didn't really feel like I had enough strong work to do a book. What ended up happening was I kind of combined that with stuff that became Volume 8. That I combined that with the February fashion season.
Okay.
And then what happened in this past September was it felt like everything was back. A lot of the Europeans were back. The energy was there. Everyone was like stoked to be there. And it felt good doing 1 book per year because it's a lot to put together. And then that season was so good that I felt like it needed to be documented. So I ended up doing No Invite Volume 9 that came out last, I believe, end of November. And then, because I'm a glutton for punishment, another season, another book, I just made it happen. So here we are with Volume 10.
That's exciting, man. So I'm curious. This sounds like a fantastic idea. What got you into it in the beginning? Like,
So I had always been kind of interested in fashion. I came from a music photography background. That's kind of
okay,
what got me into photography. Was I was into my hardcore bands back in the day. I was always going to punk shows and concerts and stuff. And I, when I stopped playing music, I wanted to like find a way to continue being a part of the scene, being a part of, just contributing something. And bringing a camera along was a great way to do that. And I had some friends who were interested in it at the time, and I started bringing my camera to shows. And a lot of times that involves sneaking into things, or you don't have a photo pass, you kind of find your way in. You don't have a ticket, you find your way in. Very much in that like DIY world of just kind of doing what you have to do to get it done. And what ended up happening was I was kind of always interested in fashion. I used to watch a channel back in the day I grew up in central New Jersey, and there was a channel called like the Metro Network that it was like New York culture. So they would have a lot of, like Marky Ramone eating pizza on St. Mark's Place and things like that. And they would broadcast the fashion shows and stuff as almost like a live stream, more or less. And it was always kind of interesting. You kind of start looking at it from an artistic perspective, and you kind of you start to like some kind of, at this point I'm like 13, 14 years old probably. So you start to like ingrain on how it is kind of an art form, and you see how different designers have their own different voices and their own styles, and something really struck me with that. And then when I moved to Jersey City about almost 8 years ago, I was like, oh, this is something that's happening very close to me. Mm-hmm. And it's really funny. When I first moved here, Fashion Week was happening. This would have been February, like 2016, I think. And I was like, Fashion Week's happening right now. Let me go find it. And I literally wandered around in the cold, could not find it for the life of me. It wasn't in the usual. It used to be in like Bryant Park or Lincoln Center for a long time, and it had moved. And I was walking around in the cold looking for it. I was like asking people in Soho looking for it. Couldn't find it. And kind of went home defeated. And then almost forgot about it a little bit until September 2016. I was at the Whitney Museum with my friends, and I'm stumbling upon like an art party that was happening in Milk Studios back when they were on like 14th and 15th Street. And there's always, I'm sure a lot of people can relate, is especially in like street photography, is like asking a stranger to take their picture. There's always that weird barrier of, the possibility of rejection. And it's always like, it's not the end of the world, but there is still like a social boundary to it. And this was a location where everyone there was like dressed up, looking to be seen. So that barrier of rejection was so low. So I started, walking around and asking people if I could take their picture. And people were super down with it. And I came away with this collection of images and didn't really know what to do with them. I felt like there was something more than just posting them online. And then I think it was the season after was one of the big Kanye West shows. I think like Yeezy season 5 or something. It was a big deal. He was showing in the city again. And I went to that. And that's where I kind of took more street style stuff. There was a lot of big models. There was a lot of celebrities, rappers, things like that. And with that collection of images combined with the stuff I took at the party, I was like, there's something here. There's a theme. There's a through line. And I used to do zines and stuff a lot when I was going on tour with bands. And I would like, go on a tour, take photos, make like a tour diary, and then make a Kinko zine or, a Xerox kind of zine, and then would sell that on the next tour to kind of make some Taco Bell money. And when I moved to the city, I was just kind of like, oh, I haven't made a zine in a while. Like, let me do that for these photos. And that essentially became volume 1, which was kind of like a proof of concept. And once volume 1 was out, I kind of caught it. I was like, there's something to this. So then when the next fashion season came around, I was ready. I was like, okay, everything taken vertically is going to be a page. Everything taken horizontally will be a spread. I was a lot more mindful of composition and shooting specifically for the format of the book. And I really kind of put a lot more thought into it that way, and then have kind of just not stopped from there until the pandemic happened, essentially, and I didn't, there wasn't Fashion Week to shoot. And I still managed to put out 2 books during the pandemic, too. So.
That's pretty wild, man.
Yeah.
I'm curious. In the beginning there, you said it started in music and that you used to play. What instrument was it?
I used to play guitar.
Okay.
I was never too great at it, but I was good enough to play rhythm guitar in a hardcore band. So just a lot of palm mutes and bar chords,
Just one of those guitar guys.
Oh, are you?
No, I used to be a bassist.
Yeah.
In like shitty punk bands.
Hell yeah. I, during the pandemic, got my guitar like reset up, and I was like, I'm gonna write like a doom record or something. And then I like picked up guitar again for the first time in years, and I was like, yeah, I remember why I put this down. So,
were you like, my fingers hurt? Ow.
Yeah, just like nothing in my head was coming out the way I was expecting it to sound, and I was like, I tried to DJ a little bit. I bought one of those like MIDI pads to do like sequencing and sampling, and I'm like, music's hard.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. Like,
Yeah.
I am okay playing like shitty punk music, but beyond that, like, my musical skills don't tend to go much further.
Yeah, I was more or less just there for the vibe, just having fun. If it was fun to play music in front of people.
It is, yeah.
And I still try to participate in the music world a little bit. I have a music podcast with my friend Andrew, and that's a lot of fun.
Oh, nice. Do you want to plug your podcast?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's called Run Into the Ground. And basically we have guests come on to talk about a record that they love or were inspired by. And it's a lot of fun. We've gotten to talk to like a lot of musical heroes and like people we looked up to in the past, just because we have a medium to kind of talk to these people by, So we've had some real cool people like we just had Jason Stewart from How Long Gone podcast. We had Jack Wagner he's now in Otherworld, but he's in Yeah But Still. We talked to Jeff Rickley from Thursday. Really, really cool to be able to talk to these people. So that's a lot of fun. I wish we had, I knew how to hook up my microphone to my phone, but it probably sounded a little better.
Well, I just want to say a quick happy birthday to Dave, aka Sinadar. Hope you have a great birthday, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you in June. To have this all set up, I actually use a Rodecaster Pro. So like this goes through the Rodecaster and then it Bluetooth to my iPad, and
the Bluetooth on the Rodecaster is nice. I know a few people with those.
It's super nice. I'm a little upset at myself though, because like a month after I bought the Rodecaster 2 came out. And I was like,
that's how it always works.
Yeah.
And standard like Scarlett Solo.
Well, and I can't justify like swapping it out, because like even this is overkill for what I do. So yeah. But now they're super cheap.
I know that's not why this is an audio chat.
Well, I mean, the thing that's kind of fun with this chat is I like to keep it flexible to sort of talk about anything that kind of comes up in along. So we've talked about all kinds of weird things. Like I had one guest who taught us that if you eat too much, I think it was Trix, the colorful cereal. Yeah.
With the rabbit.
Exactly. You end up making multicolor dookie.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it really is really covering all the bases here on this podcast.
Exactly. Barry has a question for you. What film are you using for the publication?
What's up, Barry? For the books, I've found a really good balance. I mean, I'm normally Portrait 400 across the board. It just looks how I need it to look and shoots how I expect it to shoot. But for the book and a lot of these portraits, I mostly use Lomography Color 400. And I know that's kind of a dark horse for a lot of people, but I kind of swear by it. Once I unlocked the secret of how to use it for what I need, it really works for what I want. It's so I'll tell you the secret. But since I'm taking a lot of these portraits and stuff are very close up. They're, I'm probably shooting 2 to 3 feet away from people, which gives it a nice little perspective when it comes down to, getting close to celebrities and stuff. It's a perspective a lot of people aren't going to get. And so if you use the Lomography 400 and you shoot with flash, no matter the lighting conditions, daylight, pop it, you get really nice color, nice punchy kind of saturated color, but the skin tones remain accurate, which is super important to me since most of my photos are people. And it also gets rid of you get the crunchy shadows if you don't use a flash, and that's usually for cheaper films, that's always kind of a little hack is, they always say exposed for the shadows. So when you eliminate the shadows, you kind of, you get rid of what makes it look kind of like a cheaper film. And it's once I started doing that around volume 4 or 5 and kind of that's become the visual style. And it's great. And people always ask me how I get like the saturated colors I do. And that's kind of the secret. Just pop that flash in any condition. And, even if you're using the, bright sun, and it really takes care of that.
And that's a good tip on the flash there. I do like Lomo 400 is a surprisingly fun film to use. I've been really impressed with it.
I love the Lomo stuff. I mean, they're friends of mine over there. I did my first solo show back when they had their space on West 8th Street, which was a lot of fun. So they're the first people to show my work, which was really, really cool. I miss that space all the time. It was a cool hangout spot.
I have no idea. I've never been to New York, so I missed out on all this stuff. But I am going to be there for Policon NYC that's coming up May 19th.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Kyle and all them over there at Brooklyn Film, so it's going to be a good show.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I've been part of the Instant Film Society Policon Fund for a few years now, and I think that Daniel, one of the leaders there, he was hitting me up about what is it? Leading some panel or something. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up, and kind of stoked to see what New York is like.
Yeah, I mean, New York's the place to be. Where are you from again?
I'm in Vancouver. I'm originally from the from not Vancouver, but British Columbia. I grew up in the mountains in a tiny little white town with 4,000 people in it.
Near Banff and everything out there?
Not too far from Banff. Okay. I don't know,
Beautiful.
probably about 3 hours from Banff, but right nestled in the Rocky Mountains. And when we moved there in 1988, we were the second colored family in town. So, it was in the newspapers and shit.
Oh my God. Yeah, that area though, I've never been to Western Canada, but I have friends who are from out there, and just beautiful out there. It's great.
Yeah, I miss it all the time. Vancouver's got mountains and shit too, which is cool, and the ocean, but it's not quite the same as the Rockies,
True.
But Vancouver's definitely worth checking out. I would never poo-poo on Vancouver.
Yeah, my dream. I love road trips, and I would love to just drive the West Coast, Pacific Coast Highway all the way up through Seattle and then into Vancouver. Would be the dream.
So I did a little bit of that last year, and my brother and I are going to do a bit more this June, driving up the PCH and through Big Sur and all of that. And last year when I went through Big Sur, it's something else. It makes you feel so insignificant. When you just get out and you're in the mountains and just the whole thing. I just remember standing there looking at this cliff down to the seaside, and then there's this mountain above me, and I was just humans are stupid. We make no sense at all. We're dumb. this is like everything we do is fucking pointless. Just like looking at the majesty of like, you know, Mother Nature. And yeah, it was interesting.
Nice. Yeah, it was. I did some road tripping around the pandemic, which was a nice little like change of pace. Especially, I was like cooped up in the house for months, and it was really really nice. I was driving myself crazy because I had like $900 in travel rewards. I had a relatively new car. I got an artist grant from Jersey City, and I had nowhere to go. And finally, when New England kind of loosened travel restrictions for the kind of the Northeast, I just like hit the road, and I booked all my hotels like through my credit card company, and stuff was so cheap at the time. I was doing literally like I was getting, I'd book a hotel room and it'd be like $89, and then I would ask if there were any like complimentary upgrades because there was no one else staying there, and they would just give me like a 2-room efficiency suite with like a kitchen and everything.
Yeah.
And I did a couple days in each spot. I did like a couple days in Cape Cod, and I had this beautiful hotel room like right on the water, and it was $91 a night. Yeah. Then I went up and saw a couple friends in Boston area and around like the North Shore. And then I drove up to Acadia National Park in Maine, which was absolutely gorgeous. I've been there a couple times before, but it was like, it always gets so crowded in like peak season. And this was around end of September, and it was absolutely beautiful. And just like kind of having the place to myself. There was a couple other photographers there. That was really it. And had like a really cool little hotel room. Again, I think it was like $98 or something to stay in Maine, right outside of Bar Harbor. And then I did Portland, Maine for a while, and that was like the cheapest hotel room, and it was the nicest one I stayed in. And it was just like this unreal moment that like I was able to travel so cheaply and affordably. It was very funny because the Jersey City Artist Grant, they gave you like a gift card essentially, and I think most of it was spent on like high-end seafood restaurants. And then I eventually did like a book for it, but it was it just felt good to like go find the best clam chowder in New England for 2 weeks after being like stuck at home for 6 months or whatever it was. And yeah, that ended up being a book I did called Cruel Summer. That was a nice little kind of book based around the first half is like rediscovering my neighborhood because I had nothing else to do but go walk around. So there was some really cool stuff with that, and then the second half of that book is kind of the road trip, and that was a lot of fun. I was trying to keep that 2-book per year momentum going.
It's hard to keep book momentum going sometimes. Like I've been struggling with that a little bit. Do you like The Simpsons?
I do.
Your chowder thing made me think of like maybe a missed opportunity for a book there where you could have like photographed all these different chowders and called the book Chowder Frenchie.
Yeah, that's the thing. Food photography is definitely not my strong suit, and I feel like chowder might be one of the more challenging foods to photograph,
You just have to find like a really unorthodox way to like photograph the chowder. Like
I feel like then it becomes more of a it probably becomes more of a story about the bowl than the chowder itself,
Yeah, good point.
But
maybe if you traveled with like a portable like softbox that had like a little like table that you'd put whatever bowl on. So it was like the same kind of thing every time, but like, it's like a showcasing of the chowder and the bowl.
That already sounds like too much work.
That's fair.
I don't own any lights, and I don't even own a tripod.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. Most of my day-to-day work is a lot of like event work and things like that, and a lot of on-location stuff. So yeah,
okay.
Never really owned a tripod. Don't really own any lights. I'd like to own lights at some point, just because I feel like it's something that's good to have. But
lights are fun.
So there's actually a good segue into like what kind of got me into film photography, though. Because of that, mentality, which is probably not good on my part at all. But when I was in photography school, I hated lugging my digital camera around. Hated it. Me and my friends would go into like I went to school in Western Massachusetts, but there was, you know, we'd go into Boston or we'd take a trip down to New York, and all my friends would have like their 5D over their shoulder, and mine would like kind of never make it out of my bag. And
it was a 5D, so there's your problem, like, you know.
Yeah, but this was also like, you know, before the time of like the high end like point and shoots. Like I have a little X100C Fuji that I really enjoy that I also don't use that much, but if I had one of those back in the day, probably it'd be a different story. But you know, in photo school we had Mamiya 645 and we had 5D Mark IIs when they first came out and things like that, and we were shooting 4x5 and but I just hated, like, it would just not come out of my bag. It was always just like a big heavy thing you lugged around, and I just never found myself shooting for myself with that as much. And I decided to buy a little film point and shoot. I bought a Canonet QL17 G3, the old, you know, the poor man's Leica, as they called it, which I love that camera.
Those are beautiful.
The light was absolutely non-existent on it. Every roll came out a little different, but love that camera. I think I paid like $40 for it on eBay back in the day. And because I really felt like I was losing photography on a personal level. So I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot one roll per month. So like one roll per month, I'm going to post to a Tumblr page, a new film photo every day. And it's going to keep me motivated to like shoot stuff going on around me, shoot things that were happening, going on, you know, leaving the house specifically. So I'm like, crap, I need to finish this roll, so I have stuff to post for next month. And it kind of became this exercise that made me focus on shooting personally again. And again, it was a small camera I could put in my back, you know, put it on my shoulder. I could put it in my pocket if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And it was just something I could keep on me, because if it wasn't on me and wasn't accessible, I wouldn't take the picture. So I ended up buying that and starting this project I call the Rangefinder Diaries, and it still exists. It's therangefinderdiaries.com.
It sounds kind of sexy. And, I'm not gonna lie. The Rangefinder it sounds kind of sexy. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you know.
Thank you.
It's like, you know. So you could make it a movie, like maybe a Hallmark movie or something.
I started posting a new photo every day, and there would be, you know, certain months I'd have to force myself to go out somewhere interesting and you know, shoot something specifically. So this is an interesting photo shoot. It reminds me of the pandemic all over again. And people are doing all those weird like FaceTime photo shoots.
I tried a couple of those, and it just, I'm not one of those people that like really likes virtual shit, honestly.
No. I mean, you're talking to someone who shoots specifically on film for the most part.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt the Rangefinder Diaries, though. I'm enjoying this.
Okay, yeah. No, so I started posting. I started a blog that became, you know, just something to keep me motivated and keep me shooting and keep me like going interesting places in order to take interesting photos, because that's kind of how a lot of my work happens. It's just I'm more about kind of capturing the moment rather than creating it, I guess, if that's like the easy slogan to kind of keep in mind. But you know, I gotta go in somewhere interesting and take an interesting photo. And so I started doing that, and then, you know, I graduated school and I kept doing it, and I would, you know, need less motivation, or I would have more stuff kind of back cataloged or queued up where I wasn't, you know, oh crap, I need something to post for next month. Like now I'm months out in advance. But then I was like, the 10-year anniversary. So this would have been November 2009. I started it. And I decided that, you know, I was like, 10 years is coming up in 2019. I should do like a retrospective show and retire it. Because I'm like, this isn't really an exercise I need any longer. Like, I don't need any excuse to go out and shoot. And then I decided like just keep it rolling. And it's now going to be 14 years in November. So it's like something like 6,000 plus photos or something on there now.
Damn.
And it's a lot of fun. It's still on Tumblr. I have a standard URL for it, but it's still hosted on Tumblr, and I'm terrified every day for it to just vanish one day. Because it's my entire photography career essentially. But you can go on the rangefinderdiaries.com. You can click on the archive button, and you can sort through everything by month and year, and kind of really get a good look at everything. It's a cool resource that I'm able to go back and look at.
There's got to be a way that you could like hit up Tumblr and be like, I want a copy of like my thing, because all sites let you do that.
I think you can, in terms of how to then translate that data into any being able to be hosted anywhere else. That's a whole nother question. My web kind of designing days ended around MySpace in terms of knowing how to put a website together via code.
MySpace. MySpace was the shit.
Yeah, my HTML training kind of began and ended with that.
Well,
but,
I was watching a YouTube video the other day by Grainy Days, and if you go to squarespace.com and enter Grainy Days 20, you can receive 20% off of your next website.
Yeah. Grainy Days. That's like, I don't watch too many YouTube, like camera YouTube, but he's a good one on there.
I get a kick out. Jason kills me. He's funny. What is it? NY Artist says that we should go get razors and shave those beards live. Not for free. Like, that's not going to happen for free. If that's going to be on a cam thing, y'all going to be paying for that shit.
Yeah, I don't think I've been clean shaven since I did a shoot in photo school. So it's been about 14 years as well.
Oh, damn. I haven't been clean shaven since New Year's 2020. I made a really fucking bad move. Shaved my head, shaved my beard, the whole thing, and I looked like a literal dickhead, and I will never do that again. It was funny. Fucking terrible. Yeah. So no, the beard stays. Sorry. I would maybe shave it for like $1 million. Yeah. That sounds okay.
Do you shoot film at all?
So a lot of what you're saying resonated with me there, because I do shoot film primarily.
Okay.
I used to shoot a lot of digital back in the day. Like I got into my first like real digital camera was a Nikon D70.
Okay.
Which I got like a gangster fucking loan from one of those like shitty like in a strip mall kind of loan companies.
Yeah.
To, like get the D70, and I use that pretty much just to get into like punk shows and shit for free, because I'd be like, let me take pictures of your band if you get me in, and I'll give you a CD-ROM with all of your pictures tomorrow. And they're like, what, tomorrow? That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that kind of worked. And then I took a sort of break from shooting for like 10 years and then got into it again when I moved to Toronto in like 2016, 2017. But when I got to Toronto, I got like a really bad film bug, and I got to blame Jason Lee for it. I was watching an interview where he was talking about 8x10 Polaroids and the sort of like honesty around them. How, when you're taking like an 8x10 Polaroid, and just even Polaroids in general, like they're a very honest image, because you're capturing that moment, and that's the only copy of that you're ever going to have. Like, even if you take another shot in sequence, it's not going to be the same, versus if you take a digital photo or if you take a film photo, you have that frame, you have that file, and you can reproduce that image over and over. Even when you scan a Polaroid, it's not the same as like holding that Polaroid and looking at it. And I like that whole idea of like an honest, genuine image. And I was like, I want to shoot 8x10 Polaroids. And then I looked into how much it cost to shoot 8x10 Polaroids, and I was like, this is why Jason Lee shoots 8x10 Polaroids. Like, it's, you know,
it's definitely a costly endeavor, but it is very cool. I have a few 8x10 Polaroids that were taken of me that I've like given my parents as gifts. There's some 8x10s in my parents' house. I think I did some stuff with mostly through a Impossible Project and like the Number Foundation and things like that, which is really, really cool. It is such a unique image, and it is like a cool way to see yourself like that too, you know?
It's very special. Like, it's I never thought I'd be able to do it, but I ended up last year through a friend picked up an 8x10 Deerdorf. When I left Toronto in 2021, one of my friends there sold me a processor for super cheap, and I was like, okay, I don't have an 8x10 camera, but this processor is so cheap, I'm gonna buy the processor because they keep going up and up in price.
Oh yeah, I think they're like $100 now or something. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's crazy. I blame Cat Labs. That's all Cat Labs' fault. But that's for another day.
Yeah, a lot of things.
But yeah, I was like, I want to do this, and then I was like, I can't afford to do that, and so I was like, well, what's close to like Polaroid? So I started shooting just regular 600 Polaroid. But even that's an expensive game. Like, Polaroid is not a cheap game at all. So it's like, I like this analog aesthetic in these old cameras. So then that moved me into 35 millimeter, and then, you know, I mean,
even 35 millimeter now is pretty close to being $1 per shot.
It's not cheap. Like, I'm a bit of a whore for Portra. So on the heels of the latest price gouge, I bought a bunch, and I bought a bunch of Portra 400 and Tri-X, and I'm gonna use them sparingly, just to get through stuff. But I also like Lomo 400. It's a great alternative. And comparing it to Portra, I haven't really been able to find huge differences between Lomo 400 and Portra. Like, their colors are pretty close.
Yeah, it all comes down to lighting. It depends on what kind of light you're working with. The Lomo 400 definitely is a lot more contrasty in harder light situations. Portra's a little more forgiving, but
Portra takes a lot of abuse.
Yeah. 400 is usually my like day to day for the most part. But it was tough. Based off of my fashion work I've been doing, last summer I did a part of a campaign for Madewell, and they wanted photos of people street style in New York wearing jorts, and they wanted pictures of them shot on point and shoot film. And I always joke that you never know where your like next job is coming from, and literally someone I met randomly at like a New York Halloween party at the Beach Gallery, I struck up a random conversation with someone, and they ended up being a fashion designer, and they ended up referring me to their friend who worked at an ad agency for that job. And they're like, I know the perfect person for what you're looking for. And it was great. But it was during the time when there were severe limits on what you could buy from Portra. Like, I think you were only allowed to buy 10 rolls of Portra at a time or something. And so I ended up buying 10 rolls of Portra and like 15 rolls of Lomo 400. And just because there wasn't a limit on that at the time. And, and went out and shot with that. And I think most of the shots that they chose were the Lomo.
Interesting.
So it's funny. Yeah. And I shot some of it on my Contax G2, and they said it didn't look point and shoot enough.
Well, I mean,
all the stuff they shot on the Yashica.
Were they wanting it to be like more grainy kind of look, or like more like?
I think down to perspective.
Okay.
There was a lot more bokeh on the shots with the G2. So shooting the 45 at probably like 2.8, compared to 35 with the 3.5, and probably in the sun it was probably shooting closer to f6.3 or f8 or something. So it didn't have that bokeh subject separation, and they wanted the kind of disposable looking stuff. So,
you know, it would have been really cool to try just to see if they would have like latched onto any of them. Is if you picked up one of those Lomo simple reuse cameras and did a roll or two with those. Those cameras are fucking cool.
They are cool. I always try. I mean, I like the fact that they're reusable, but people who shoot a lot of disposable, I always try to steer them into just buying a cheap point and shoot.
Yeah.
You know, and those simple use kind of do check that box because they are reusable. But, you know, they're always shooting at f8 or f11. And if you get like even just a cheap point and shoot, you'll at least be getting like 6.3, you know, f6.3 or like f5.6 or something. Even the zooms, you can, you know, leave it at 28 millimeter and get f4 out of it, you know?
Mm-hmm. But you've never really lived until you've shot a roll of Cinestill 800 through a camera that's worth less than the film is.
I mean, that's the way most cameras were when I started buying point and shoots.
Oh, dude, gear prices are so insane lately. I can't believe how much stuff is costing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to pick a lot of it up early. Like I have the gold 60th anniversary Contax T2.
Oh shit.
I bought that new old stock. It was still with like the plastic around the accessories, in like the mahogany display box and everything. I paid $400 for it like 8 years ago.
Dude, that's like a couple grand now.
Yeah, I think they're like 1,800 or something. But
yeah.
I used it. Like I immediately took it across the country, and the finish was all worn. I took it to the big Brooklyn Film like meetup they had at Wyckoff Windows like a month or so ago. And
nice.
Someone like admonished me because the finish was worn on the camera.
Good.
I wouldn't let this thing out of the box, and I'm like, it's a tool.
Yeah.
You know, I love the photos it takes. The photos out of the Contax T2, I think I could look through my archive and remember, like, can point out which ones are taken on that camera because it has such a specific lens profile to it.
Mm.
You know, especially compared to like the Contax G2, which is very sterile. The T2 has such an interesting contrast ratio and like lens profile. I took it on a road trip from New Jersey to Oregon in 2015, and I brought that with me and shot a lot of Ektar back when Ektar was affordable too, and it looks like a painting. Like it's so like painterly, and the way the colors are, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, Ektar gets slept on a lot. It's a really nice film. I dig Ektar a ton.
I mean, I used to buy it because it was cheap. I used to be able to get Ektar for like $5.25 a roll for a long time.
I think it's like $20 now. Like
it's crazy. It's so stupid.
Everything's crazy now.
It's more expensive than like portrait at this point. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it is. But no, that's good that you use it. And like people that admonish people for using their stuff, it is ridiculous. Like that's what gear is meant to be used for. Like a couple months ago, I bought an M6, and it's one of those things. I never thought I would ever own one because they just seem like unobtainium. But I got lucky, had a friend that had extra Leicas laying around, which is a weird thing for me to think about. But, you know, he has quite the Leica collection and offered it to me. And he's like, and it's in such good condition. And I'm like, I feel kind of bad that you're selling it to me, though, because it's not going to be in super great condition after I've used it for a while. Like, I'm going to beat the shit out of this.
Leica can take it, you know?
Yeah. I wish it was an M4 so that I could get brassing instead of just, you know, the aluminum wearing.
Yeah, I regret selling my M6. That was my dream camera, especially like the rangefinder diaries. What's the epitome of the rangefinder, you know? And I bought it and I loved it. And then I bought the G2, and that fit my shooting style a lot more, especially with the autofocus. And because I'm not doing too much street photography in the sense of like I'm not shooting from the hip. I'm not, you know, zone focusing. And, you know, I would kind of, you know, it would sit on the shelf and be like, okay, I'm going to shoot one more roll. and then I'm gonna sell it. And then I would like fall in love with it again every time I'd like, just even advancing the film is just such a pleasant feel. And I finally sold it one day, and I sold it for a few $100s more than I paid for it, which was, at the time good, but now the prices they're selling them for are just outrageous. And I don't know if I wish I kept it because it's worth so much now, but I kind of wish, because I would love to have one again, and I won't pay for the prices that they're going for now.
It's crazy what they go for now. Like I got lucky because like my friend didn't like upcharge me like super crazy. He basically like sold it to me what he bought it for like a couple years ago. But what some people are asking for is just crazy. And then like what is also concerning with these like cameras that have been shelf queens is, sometimes just because it's in like excellent, super great condition doesn't mean it's going to be a good camera, because it could have just been sitting for a long time.
Like eyes out and get through, and the light seals start to flake, and it's especially with the stuff with the point and shoot stuff, like they're all 30-year-old pieces of plastic at this point. Especially the Yashikas. You can't get them repaired. I have 3 broken ones that are just sitting in a drawer for whenever I finally get my my big retrospective one day. I can use them all as display. But it's just but I use them. Like I said, they break inexplicably and you can't get them repaired. My T2 broke during Fashion Week one year, and I got it fixed a couple years ago, and it like felt good to have that back, but it cost me $400 to get it fixed.
Oh shit.
And now I think it's more if they have the parts to do it. Nippon is the only place I know in like the States that do it in New York City. And but yeah, the Yashica stuff, just weird stuff happens. I have one that the focus is just slightly off. Like the eye will be out of focus, but the ear is in focus. And it's literally a problem that only matters to me because I'm taking close portraits. If I was shooting people from 6 to 8 feet away, it'd probably not make a difference at all. But the fact of shooting so close, it's like, great, this camera's useless to just me. And same deal. I have a T5 that I bought at the time. It was the most, I think it might still be the most expensive T4 variant I've ever bought. It was like $375, mint condition. And I shot 2 rolls with it, and it was beautiful. And then I went out to shoot volume 3 of No Invite, and I got 6 rolls shot before the lab started to send me back proofs, and light leak in every single roll.
Oh shit!
Every single frame, every single roll, inexplicably, just appeared after shooting 2 beautiful rolls, no issue at all. No idea. I tried taping it up, nothing. So it's just like these things. There's no rhyme or reason. People reach out to me all the time about buying T4s, and I just say like, prepare for heartbreak. Like you're gonna spend a ton of money, and it's gonna break on you one day, and maybe even a few months from now. Like I bought one, and it broke 3 months after I bought it. And I spent $325 on it.
Well, that's why I sold my Nikon 35 Ti. Like I lusted after one of those so bad, and then I bought it, and it was like the loveliest camera I've ever had. But then I just started getting like this panic about it that like one day I'm going to flip the on switch and it's just not going to do anything, or like the dials will stop working, or like whatever. And I didn't want to play the crying game with it. So I was like, well, I could still get money for it. I'm going to just flip this bitch. But then it's like your M6, it's the one that got away. I'm always like, man, they're so expensive now. Like I should have just hung on to it.
I bought about 2 years ago. I found a Hasselblad 500C with the lens and back at a pawn shop for $100.
Dude, did you buy a lottery ticket after you did that?
I bought it, obviously. Actually, they wanted $120, and I haggled them down to $100.
You're like, it's a film camera. You can't even buy film anymore. This is bullshit.
Well, it was missing the advanced knob, and I was like, I got to spend a couple $100 to even find out if this thing works. Like, I left the dark slide in. I was like, shutter's not firing. It's very funny. But the thing was, I shot a couple rolls with it. It was beautiful. I don't shoot too much 120 because again, it comes into that like camera needs to be on me and portable for me to take the shot to have it on me. But I brought it on a shoot. I did a really, really fun photo shoot for the band Charlie Bliss, who are actually on tour right now. Go see them. But I did a really, really fun shoot with them, all filmed in like the West Village in New York. And just for fun, I brought a roll portrait in the Hasselblad and shot some awesome photos that I really, really love with it. And I got super hype on the Hasselblad again. And I was like, okay, cool. It was kind of beat up. Like, it needs some TLC, like, but it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it on a trip. I bought, like, a Pro Pack of 120. Like, can't wait to shoot these really cool, like, it was in central Pennsylvania in this little, like, there's all these small towns and really cool old businesses and whatever. And I literally put a new roll in, stood at the edge of this gorgeous lake, clicked the shutter, and it jammed. First shot. And I went to the hardware store and bought a long screwdriver to cock the lens from the inside. And it recocked the lens, didn't fix the problem. And fucking, sure enough, I took it to the repair shop, and the camera return spring had broken, which is like a clock spring, and they didn't even have a replacement for it.
Oh shit!
So, so it's still broken. I might just sell it for parts because I don't like. There's one guy, David Odessa, I think his name is, in Massachusetts, who does. He's like the guy for Hasselblad repairs in CLA, and I think last time I checked, his turnaround time was 18 weeks.
Dude, you should check out Retro Photo Reading PA.
Oh, Retro Photo in Reading. They're also in Central PA, not too far from where the camera broke.
Yeah, so hit up Michael there. They have a massive part supply, and chances are they'll have the part you're looking for.
Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, I've heard some great stuff about their shop.
It's a place I definitely want to check out. Like, it had a cool interview with him season 2, I think. He was actually like en route back to PA from California with like a fucking 5-ton U-Haul full of like camera shit that he bought down there.
The so when you sold your Nikon point and shoot, do you have any other point and shoots now?
No, actually, I don't. I just have the M6, and a Zorky.
Okay,
those are both
classic.
like rangefinders. I like the Zorky, but I'm probably gonna sell the Zorky because I only bought this one Zorky because I sold one that I really loved, and I'm like, I regretted selling that one. And I'm like, this will be the same, but I ended up buying a much older version of the one that I had, and it's not quite the same. But most of my film cameras are like SLRs, so I've got like a Nikon F5, which is like my primary film camera outside of the M6, and then an F100 is like a secondary camera.
The F100.
Dude, the F100 is it's a great little camera. It's underrated. But people are figuring it out, so they're like jacking up in price right now. And surprisingly, lately I've been shooting a lot more digital. I just picked up a Nikon D850 that has made me fall in love with digital again. Like, it's given me that feeling that my D70 gave me back in the day, where it was like, it's exciting and it's fun, and you know, I don't have to do a whole lot of work to make the images look good out of it, so my editing cuts down on it, and it feels like a nice camera to use. And for a lot of the work that I've been shooting lately, it wouldn't be economical to shoot it with film, so you know, the D850 makes a lot of sense. But now it's making me want to buy an F6, because if I have a D850 and an F6, then I can become part of the Nikon Professionals program.
Is that really what it comes down to?
Yeah, you have to have 2 pro bodies.
That's really funny. I mean, I never really. I have a few film SLRs, and I never use them. Like I'm a Canon
Really?
shooter generally. I have like the Canon Rebel G3. I have the Canon Elon 7A or whatever, 7E. They'll take my Canon autofocus EF lenses,
Mm-hmm.
and I just never use it. I've always been rangefinder or point shoot, and but yeah, that's the thing with digital. So I'm a full time freelance professional photographer. Most of my stuff is all digital, just because I do a lot of event work. A lot of it's high volume, quick turnaround stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Especially stuff for PR and everything is very much like I need these photos by the morning. And so by shooting film, I think it's a nice divide between the same deal. Like I started shooting film in the first place with photo school. Like, I'm shooting, I'm taking classes on shooting reflective metal and glassware and things like that I'm not necessarily interested in.
Yeah.
And, I need that divide to kind of, have a more artistic output. And that's something I have some friends who kind of do photography as a hobby or as an art, who have like a normal job. Like they work in an office all day and then they shoot photos. And, for me, that divide still exists, but it's still under the umbrella of photography. So I shoot weddings, I shoot corporate events, I shoot headshots, but.
Oh, what? Well, I guess that's the end of the show. Sorry, everyone. That was the end. Abruptly. I guess Instagram has reinstituted the hour limit again. So thanks for tuning in. And keep tuned in for when the next episode will be. It'll be a mystery. Still trying to figure this shit out. So I love you guys. And as always, I appreciate your support. And stay safe out there. Be kind. Don't be a dick. If you got nice weather, enjoy it. Drink some water. Definitely drink some water. And take care. All right, bye.